as a way of flowing through you to really give people that I feel that we are really here to be conscious co-creators with the universe. We really are here to have everything, all of the possibilities in surrounding ourselves with those loving connections fully activated and potential to open up to really be creative vessels and bring good works to the world. And that's what you were talking about earlier of having that creative flow. So how would you give people a tip if they're, typical everyday folks or maybe a little bit gunked up creatively, maybe they haven't been creating in a while, or maybe they did in college or years ago. How would you encourage people to bring creativity into their daily life and that inner artist to come out?
That's a really good question. I would first remind people that when an artist has a show, we are putting on the walls those 10 or 20 pieces that are the best of what we've made. And people don't get to see the oops, the ones that end up in the trash. People have an idea of a great artist and that everything they do is great, but that's not true, because you can be an expert in something and you're not going to hit the mark every time. So I would say to somebody who hasn't picked up a paintbrush in a while, to somebody who wants to start crafting or being creative or making art, or whether it's cooking, music, or painting, visual arts, whatever, don't be afraid to screw up. Every great artist has their clunkers. You can throw it away. You don't have to display it. And what I would tell my art students when they had a hard time starting a project, I would tell them, well, if you ruin a piece of paper, so what? It's just a piece of paper. And you can start again. Or you can just keep going and see where it leads you. So the paper's not going to hurt you if you screw up your drawing.
Right, it's okay to use the paper to create something that may or may not be perfect.
Yeah, you can recycle it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
No
even
big
in
deal.
producing this show, I've had to go with the motto, perfectly imperfect, because you know what? It hasn't been perfect ever, but it's perfect every time, because we're just creating something from our heart. We're just going for it. And so let's just see if we can have a look at some of that pottery, the non-oops stuff. So here we go. Describe these pieces. A beautiful work, absolutely beautiful. So this is a lot of fairy-inspired stuff, and is this one of the seasons?
This one is flower fairies, it's irises, and I made this in collaboration with a really amazing potter named Jeffrey Bohr, who's been a good friend of mine through many years. And he owns and is the master potter for a terrific studio called Tomark Pottery in Martha's Vineyard Island in Massachusetts. And he taught me pretty much everything I know about ceramics.
Okay, can we move to that next piece now? We have about 6 different art and pottery pieces here. That is so gorgeous. Got the beautiful flowers, a ladybug applique, I think, on that.
It's funny that you mentioned about it being imperfect, because that was to cover a little oops.
Oh, was it? The ladybug. Oh, look at that. And I love that. The little fairy
Thank
nymph
you.
on there on the edge of that pot. Really magical, beautifully inspired. And we were, as we were saying, multi-dimensional, very multi-dimensional pieces that sort of bring that happy, magical, creative spirit in. And there's a dragonfly vase, really, really pretty. I can imagine that would make the whole patio look great. And then that is called Land of the Fairy, isn't it?
Yes.
I love the name
I
of
think
that.
that says it all.
Now, pause a moment there, because this is getting into some stuff regarding other forms of art and things that you do. If we can come back to the studio here. This is a character that you're in. It's called, describe the project, because you have 2 different projects that are a little bit different.
Right.
You have many different forms of art you work in. So describe the project. You are a character named Morningstar.
I have a good friend who's an amazing artist. He's a graphic novelist. So he has created the storyline, written the entire story, and done all of the illustrations for 3 graphic novels and a bunch, I don't even remember how many, web comics, and it's called Soul Exodus. His name is Benjamin Cologne, and I'm honored to be the basis for one of the characters in the book, whose name is Rose. And it's been a terrific project. It's sort of pushed my boundaries, because I've never done comic book art before, and it made me have to learn about it a little bit, and it made me get into it a lot. It's a great form of storytelling, and a lot of the times it's how kids first relate to the printed word. So I think it's really great.
Yeah, just as long as you get a love for reading going.
Yes.
You know, it's don't complain too much at first. If they're reading, you know, it may not be the best approved list thing you want to have them read, but just get them loving reading. You know, that to me is so important. get that reading bug going, you know. But yeah, this character. So we can look at a few more of those images now. So we had them. What was Morningstar then? Because I made a mistake.
Morningstar is one of the villains.
Okay, so this was a. Okay, so
it's
real
a
quick.
Complex story.
So this is a 3D picture that
That's right.
you made for this thing, and you're there in your character, right? So there you are, Rose. Okay, I had missed. Now here we're going to have a closer of this 3D picture that you made. Tell it. This is amazing.
Right. That's right. That was shown at the New York Comic Book Convention, and it's featuring my friend and the creator of Soul Exodus, Benjamin Colon. It's his characters. So it was inspired by the world that he created, which is another whole epic adventure and different dimension of storytelling.
Yeah. So tell me all the media you work in art, just so people get an idea of how many different ways. It's a big list, right? But just tell me, because I love it. Some people, they'll think, oh, I do this one thing and I have to be perfect. You don't. You can try a million fun different things. I mean, here we are in the craft haven of the world, really. This area, the whole craft fest last week. Wonderful stuff. So just name the media real quick, really.
I've worked with many types of paints, oils, acrylics, egg tempera, watercolor. I've done pastels, oil, and chalk. I've worked with new materials like resins, two-part epoxy resins, and casting mediums. I've done very old school stuff like stoneware and raku firings. I do some performance art and mainly spirit painting, which is what I call when I go out and I do face paintings, and I don't really take requests like, oh, give me butterflies or give me balloons. I do what the person's face says to do, like go along with the bone structure and the colors that they choose to wear, and really make things pop, and it's terrific. I love switching up different medias all the time. It gives a fresh perspective.
Yeah, and then we'll just go ahead and admit we're both addicted to glitter. Okay,
I love glitter.
We'll just make a public admission right now.
Glitter is beautiful.
You know, you have a little fairy spirit biting you, and you've got to have. I have personally like a whole bunch of colors of glitter. You know, all different sizes of it. It's crazy, and you can actually. You know, I try not to put it on gifts that I'm sending other people, because not everybody wants their house covered in glitter once they open the box. I've done that a few times.
It's true.
People didn't really appreciate it, but we are going to have a fun thing in a moment, a very special surprise. We're going to have a face painting experience. I'm actually going to become the canvas, and will come out whatever she is inspired to do. So we'll start that in a moment, and then we'll cut away and we're going to see some art from artist Sarah Deutsch, and that art in the background will be having the music of Richard Ganaway of AO Music. So we're very pleased to be able to play that. The song you heard a little bit of before, we'll play the full length of that to the art of Sarah Deutsch, and then following up with the Taurus again at the end. So one of the things I want to mention real quick before we get going with the other face painting was sort of little informal lesson via the television, and also the finishing of it. Oh, now we're back to these images. Okay, so we're going to do the Taurus, but we'll go ahead with this. So there is the animation. Now you're there. You're actually modeling for the drawing being done for
That's right.
for Soul Exodus, is it right? The guy. And so that's a really, and you were mentioning that painter, that she's an amazing painter, the other woman there in the photo.
Oh, she is. Her name is Dina Brodsky, and you can see her images online if you just Google it.
Great. So yeah, it's wonderful, different, interesting. And you know, you remember that first aha video where it was a combination of both. Okay, so I wanted to show this one because you are called, wait, pause it, because you're called the Halloween Queen. Okay,
yes,
the Queen of Halloween,
I've been
right?
known as that, yes.
She's been called the Queen of Halloween. Now check out those fangs. Those are some serious fangs. And what I wanted to show that, because as we transition to the face painting part, and I wanted to say that she is like a Queen of Halloween, right? So we're going to do this face painting thing, and this will be the Halloween edition, and we're going to have some kind of metamorphosis, transformation, some kind of thing going on. But before we go back, I just want to show a couple of images with her with the face painting there. Okay, there we go. There she is out there inspiring kids with art and doing these spirit paintings, whatever happens to be the best for their face, really being an artistic creation. And there's the little girl. Now, I love this picture because she's looking at you like, wow, this lady's really creating the paint, you know? And then there you are with the other little girl getting her little image. Okay, so the Taurus. This jumped up just in time at the beginning. Now, you have this. We have talked about the toroidal shape. Now I haven't done this, but you can put your hand in it, right? You can flatten it.
If you go like this,
okay,
it coils up onto itself, and you can flatten it, slip it on
and then put it on. I haven't done this before. Okay, so now it's on, and she's really good at it. Okay, so just watch her. This is a toroidal shape. We are going to show an image of it. We've showed it on a few other shows. This is the geometric form. It is the most stable geometric form in the universe. This is a little model of it. And that's the same shape that emanates from your heart and also from the center of the sun and the earth. So this is really not only just highly ironic, but totally synchronistic that Mathilda happens to love the toroidal shape, happens to have toys of them, and happen to be able to bring them in on this show. So perfect synchronicity. And I knew when I met Mathilda 4 times within a couple of days that, there was probably some synchronicity that was going on with that.
It was meant to be.
Yes. So, this toroidal shape is really interesting. And at the credits at the end of the show, there's always ways to get in touch with us. So if you ever have questions about any of the cool things we talk about, be sure and jot down that information at the end. So, do you want to grab that stuff and start out? We could start out doing the face painting thing. This is really going to be a little wild. This is definitely spontaneous. We're going to do a face painting live on television. So we're going to go with whatever she creates, and we're just going to check this out. Now, during that, I think you'll be able to describe, if you want to go ahead and I'll get your stuff and I'll just talk through this. She's actually going to give some tips and some ideas on how to create a face painting. Now, who's to say that Halloween's just for little kids? Who's to say that only the little kids get to dress up and eat a bunch of candy? I mean, not that you have to eat candy, but dressing up is the fun part of Halloween, and just keeping it in the spirit of really enjoying the different things you can do with costuming and creation. And, of course, in many cultures, they talk about like in Mexico, the Days of the Dead, where, it's considered the time of the lifting of the veil between the physical and the spirit world. So in many, many cultures, they actually will pretty much camp out at the cemetery for the week and spend time with grandma, bring her favorite food. The Days of the Dead in Mexico are a well-known thing. We can actually use some of this if we need any. If you need any paper, I always have tons of paper here at the table. And so we're going to start out, and I'm going to just let some of this crew here know, if you want to create a Zoom here, she's going to do some interesting things. I really have no idea what's going to happen, but this is a real creative process we're going to be involved in.
Well, if anyone would like to do any face painting at home, what I use for its versatility and its bright, awesome, beautiful colors, and the fact that it's non-toxic, is non-toxic student acrylic paint. You can get it at Michael's, AC Moore, any place like that. And it washes off very easily.
So non-toxic acrylic student paint. You can get it at any craft store. And so you don't have to have, like Mathilda was saying earlier, you do not have to have a perfect thing, right? You can always wash your face and you can try it again. And sometimes you go out, you think, oh, I want to dress up for Halloween. Then you go out and there's a bunch of weird masks and you're like, oh, I don't really like anything. But wouldn't it be fun just to create an original painting on your face and maybe have an idea of how to do that? And so that's what we'll be sharing with you as we head toward the wonderful All Hallows Eve weekend, which lots of fun masquerading, people dressing up, people expressing maybe a side of themselves that they keep away all year. We were talking earlier this month about the zombie parade and how many people love coming out for the zombie parade. And I was actually, as we said, we were downtown for the 10-10-10, spiritual moment right in Pack Square. Beautiful park and lots of really kind of, spiritual music and very, oming and sacred chanting and all this stuff. And literally we went around the corner. And literally on the same block was 1,000 zombies coming up the street.
I love the zombie crawl.
I love it. It was like, Viva la Difference in Asheville. It was so perfect. And it was really fun. So I was saying how they have this one time a year where they dress up. And you were saying you thought Halloween should be all the time. We should have Halloween all the time.
At least once a month.
Yeah, once a month, make it a fun dress up thing. Have fun, right? And celebrate that. So I guess should I pull this hair back?
So I'm ready to start painting, if you are.
Okay, so we're just going to keep going with the interview while we do whatever we're going to do. We'll see.
Do you want me to explain what I'm going to do?
Yes, you can go through it.
Well, you see she's got a nice turquoise top on, so I mixed these turquoisey sort of inspired colors, and I added a little bit of water so it's nice and creamy.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a beautiful little mask on your